Tired of the noise and spin? Join the Middle Ground Mike Patreon for 7 days for free. And then it's just $1 a month afterwards. Real talk, real people right now. Sign up today, middlegroundmike.com. Click on the button. Good evening, everybody. This is Joe from the Middle Ground Mike. Hope to catch everybody doing well. We got a real special guest on here today, Ricky. Gotten to know him a little bit. He's a great guy. You know, crazy when you meet someone, you have similar just thought process, right off the bat. I appreciate you coming on, Ricky, especially considering your background, our little section of the world.
Well, I got to tell you, Joseph, so I apologize.
You can call me Joe. No, Joe's fine.
I mean, I'm purposely looking like a little bit of a goofball right now because image and brand. We've talked about a couple of the areas we're going to talk about on the Middle Ground Mike, which is just this phenomenal show. And Joe, you're just this awesome host. It's my honor to be here. But I'm looking like a goofball. I'm looking like, rock star, Hollywood star, because one of the things we're going to talk about is entertainment. Because I've been around a lot of industries. Ricky Travolta. My friends can call me whatever you want. Prefer not Dick, but, as long as it's meant with love, hey, but I make number one brands in multiple industries, and that's technology, telecommunications, home improvement, health and fitness, nutrition. Behind the scenes, they call me America's friend because I will help anybody. America's dream for everyone. That's what I love. At the same time, that's a cool nickname in front of the camera. Behind the cameras, I also have this nickname, Brand Savior, because I can make those number one brands. And they also get brought in to save brands that have committed like billion-dollar mistakes and say, hey, Ricky, fix this before we go out of business. And so those companies are like, and then I get to do the fun stuff, and that's entertainment. And Joe, audience, Middle Ground Mike audience, I love you guys. And Joe's being really super accommodating. I'm kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere. I got bad situation, crimes of an intimate nature at an Airbnb. We'll just try not to
I can imagine.
dwell on that. Mine is an Audi, and somebody decided it was an innie. And that was not nice. So Joe's being like super accommodating because I'm trapped in the middle of nowhere, the Upper Peninsula, where there's no decent internet. No. And I talk about Brand Savior. The internet company, the only one in the area, was called Astria. And they installed 2 weeks late. And so they got it. Everything works at a different pace up here. And so they got that cost me like a lot of money that I wasn't able to do my interviews for like national news, wasn't able to reach clients and things. So they finally install it, and the manager's like, cool and everything. She's like, okay, we're going to give you a big credit. And then everybody left Astria because Charter Communications bought it. And so everybody left the Astria local office, which created a big problem when the bill comes and no credit and billing from the time it was supposed to be installed and not when it was. 50 hours of my time. Billable rate over $600 an hour, but know that I'm charging them per hour while they're not answering the phone. 50 hours of my time. I have to hire somebody to make calls, and then we email Catherine Blanchard at Charter Communications saying, hey, there's this problem. We have disabled people involved. If the internet goes out, it's going to be a problem. We just want it solved. Right. And she denied that they owned Astria. And we're like, okay. So we talked to the installer and we talked to the tech department. Love tech department. I go way back. I introduced the iPad before the iPad, the Extron model. Yeah. Took Otherworld Computing to 583 million. So I'm pretty good at the tech stuff, but I can't really work the stuff. But I love the tech departments. And so they're documenting the installers. And we got a hold of the former president, one of the executives from Astria. And he finally reveals, everybody left the company. That's why nobody's returning your calls or anything. And it became like this big, awful situation. So talk about like brand Titanic. They violated the ADA. They turned off the internet, traumatizing disabled people, documenting that it was going on. And so then we had a publicist, one of our publicists, Jesse. It actually affected me. I had to go get medical care. So Jesse very politely calls their PR people. And then Charter they formed a partnership with Cox Communications. And then their distributor is Warner Media, which is like Discovery. So he just let them know, hey, this happened. It might come out in the media that somebody's on the way to the hospital. Why don't we get together and fix it? And they never called him back. And so that's like the kind of company that would bring in the brand savior, because that's
Right.
the like, wow, abuse of the disabled. We talked about tech. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, I'm going to get Hollywood again, was my background with Star Trek.
Because that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. I've had the great fortune of working with, this is like sacrilege to some people, but I've worked with both the Star Trek universe and the Star Wars universe.
I can hear the fires burning.
Yeah. Some it's like, oh, we love sci-fi. And some it's like religion, right? And
Yeah.
so my background with Star Trek goes back to, I was in Los Angeles, and I was helping out a brand called Roth Staffing. It's a fledgling brand. Ben Roth, he's a staffing guy, decided he's going to start a new company. It had a couple different divisions, and one of them was Abacus, which is staffing for accounting, Abacus accounting. And so when I'm doing image and branding for a company, I want to get to know the product. And so I was in the Abacus office, like working as a staffing guy, like learning it. And they shared the office space with the Roth staffing side, which was just like general contractors. And the way, I don't know how it works now, but back in the day, they would just run ads like it was a real job and kind of trick people into coming into a staffing agency. And I go out into the lobby, and there's a guy sitting among the construction workers, and his suit must have cost more than a house. And I didn't know who it was, but I knew I better look because nobody else was. I pick up his resume. It's Jerry Goldman, the senior executive vice president from Paramount, who is like being encouraged, hey, look for something else. You're getting kind of up. Now, I didn't follow the rules. I always follow the rules, but I didn't follow them that day. I was supposed to put him through basic math tests. Because that's the rules of the staffing place.
Really?
And
Wow.
Sometimes you gotta say, let's look at logic. And so I treated him with dignity and respect. And I do that with everybody. But I made sure he was appreciated. And then outside of the office, I worked with him. And I personally redid his resume. And I worked with him on interview skills because he hadn't applied for a job in like 50 years.
Right.
And we landed him at Cootie Hayes. And because he'd made his money. He was just looking to be important somewhere else. And so I don't remember what the position was. It was like CFO or something. And they produced some cool television. A lot of it was shot in Australia. The Lost World, I think, was one of them, TV thing. And then I think they did Beastmaster, some kind of cool sci-fi things. But Jerry, Paramount, senior executive vice president of Paramount. So he brought me into the kind of Star Trek world. And that was my connection. And eventually, I mean, Jerry was a cool guy. He would stop production meetings to take my call. And I didn't know it at all. I was just this young kid who was just calling my buddy. Sometimes being nice to the right person is really, really smart. And
Right.
I'm just nice to everybody.
Definitely.
But that connected me. Later on, I started working with Michael Dorn, who played Worf on Next Generation. And he's played Worf on everything. He was on Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. I don't think he appeared on Voyager, but then now he's back up the card. He was the only one from the Next Generation cast. He was in one of the films with one of the originals. He played his own grandfather who defended Kirk in a trial. So he was an amazing actor. And I loved him forever. And I'd written a screenplay called Heroes. And it went through a bunch of title changes and actually never ended up getting produced, but it was optioned a bunch of times. And it was a superhero kind of thing. Soldiers are injected with a serum and they get superhero-like powers like super strength and all that, but not the comic book stuff, kind of the realistic. And I'd written the part of Lieutenant Franco for Michael, just in mind with him, because I just loved him as an actor. And then I saw this interview where he was saying, well, I got planes, I got money, I can act. What I really want to do is direct. And nobody really gives me a shot. I achieved record success in record time by seeing opportunities other people don't. I saw that interview. I was starring in West Side Story at a theater in Pomona at the time. And it's my favorite show. I was a national touring headlining actor before I got behind the scenes in marketing. And so I was doing West Side Story. It was the Place Theater in Pomona, I invited Michael. Well, first I asked Jerry on the phone, would this make sense? I told him my little idea. He said, that is a beautiful idea. So I invite Michael to the show. And Michael couldn't come, but he said, I'm going to give you a call. And so he did. And so I get him on the phone. And I said, Michael, look, man, I'm a young screener. I have like no credentials whatsoever. I know Jerry. I'm getting a few things done here and there. And in business, I'm making a name and as an entertainer, as a headliner. But as a producer, I had nothing as a screenwriter. And the normal way to get a script made, man, it's a huge process. You get on the phone and you pitch to an agent, and maybe they give you to a sub-agent who's really an intern. And they might look at it after a while. And if they like it, then they might give it to, the intern who's been there a few weeks longer or whatever. And after a year, maybe the agent gets it. And the agent reads maybe 2 pages. And then if he likes it, then he sends it on to the star and it sits on a desk, and maybe you're lucky if they look at it. And so if anything gets made, there's a lot of luck involved because you don't know if it's even going to get looked at. That's why you hear a lot of stories about a film taking 10, 20 years to get made. It's because it sits on somebody's desk or gets caught in some kind of loophole.
Oh, yeah. I know how that goes.
Michael calls me up, and his production company was Saberjet Productions because that's a kind of plane, and he loves aviation. He's a pilot. He loves aviation. So he named his company after his plane. And we're chatting, and it's groovy and cool. I talk kind of funny, but yeah, it's groovy cool. And I said, Michael, man, I got to tell you, everybody pitches you on an acting project. And I will tell you, I wrote this script with you in mind. I think you're the most amazing actor. But I saw that interview, Mike. I saw how you want to be a director. And I don't want to pitch you as a director because you just want to direct. Here's why. I studied Yul Brynner, one of my favorite actors. I used to have hair. That wasn't why I studied him, because he was bald. But now that I don't have hair, I'd love him even more. Yul Brynner. Michael Jordan's bald now too, so joining the club. Yul Brynner, before he became a star, first on Broadway as The King in The King and I, and then in the movies in The King and I and Westworld and The Magnificent Seven, iconic movie star. Before he achieved success as an actor, he was a director for television. And so when studying Yul, I found out that the way he was so dynamic on camera was because, having been a director, he knew exactly how to look at the camera. He knew how to hold his head so the light hit him just perfect. He knew from the director's perspective how to be as an actor. And so he was this amazing actor, but his charisma, his persona, his image and branding, what I do, was amplified by his knowledge base as the director. And I said, Michael, I can tell from you as an actor and how you deliver your lines and how you look and how you position yourself, that maybe even if you don't have a lot of directing credit yet, I see that you know what to do. And so, Michael, rather than pitch you on this part that I wrote for you, I'm going to pitch you as a director. And I'm going to tell you what, Joe, I told you that years-long process to get something even looked at. 20 minutes on the phone, he hadn't even seen the script. He had agreed to direct and star. Unconventional approaches get results if they make sense. And you don't know if you don't try. And the thing I always insist on, whether it's making a celebrity brand, whether it's making a company famous, profitable, has to be truth. And I've walked away from some companies and some clients that didn't adhere to that. Later on, I joined Otherworld Computing. I was brought on as executive spokesperson. I was a part owner of the company. And it took a lot of negotiation for me to do that. My father likes little boys. It's unfortunate. And one of the little boys he liked was me. Very unfortunate. And that resulted in a condition. It's called dissociative identity disorder. Multiple personality. Doesn't mean I'm crazy. Just means that when daddy was whatever, I couldn't be there in my head. 90 to 97% of cases of it, that's the case. It's a parent that does that. It's never going to go away. And it doesn't mean I'm crazy. It just means at some point in the day, I might bark like a dog, or I might be a Chinese woman or whatever. And so any kind of executive job where I'm in the office all day, very simple accommodation. The ADA, accommodation to disability. And this was it was a handshake deal. I didn't want it known. I had to have a private office. Very simple. I'm groovy and cool and running the company. Everybody loves me. And then if something's going to happen, I go in the office. Nobody sees it. I bark like a dog or whatever. Whatever happens, I come out Nobody knows it. Image and branding. I'm still the golden boy. Nobody sees the disability. And so you're Googling something. Are you Googling something?
I'm typing. I think it gave me a prompt, so I was just
Okay.
like
And so
typing an actual thing.
So that was one of the executive positions that I took, was Otherworld Computing, because Larry O'Connor made that promise to me. We met a bunch of times at his dad's property before we ever went over to the OWC office. His dad had Shamrock Industries, Larry O'Connor Sr. So we had to have a lot of private meetings because I didn't want it known. I didn't. Right now, I'm the voice for the voiceless. I'm open and honest about being disabled because you can't help it. Well, we shouldn't have to hide it. It doesn't hurt anybody. It is what it is. And that's why the ADA exists. But back then, had to hide. And so we had these private meetings at Shamrock Industries. Larry agreed to it. He understood. He needed me that bad. And so I just had to have a private office. That's it. And so Otherworld Computing, that's when I brought in like all my Star Trek friends. And so we had like products that we're going to launch. It hadn't been signed yet, but we were about to sign with George Takei, Scott Bakula. I did that like really English, Scott Bakula. Who else? We had somebody from every series at that point. And Chase was from Deep Space Nine. Chase played Lita.
Lita.
Yes. You are a Star Trek fan, man. So you probably know she's also like Pole.
She was Rom's wife.
20, I think it was the 20 sexiest women in sci-fi history, something like that for TV Guide.
She'd definitely be up there.
And I mean, she is. I mean, I know Trace. I know Chase too. I know Chase Masterson. We've worked together on some things. She's been a friend. I love her dearly. And I can tell you, just having been in the room with her, she is that sexy. And it's not even a matter, first of all, she's naturally sexy. She doesn't have to have makeup on, but she knows how to image branding. She knows how to look, but she has that sexiness from inside. And I'm going to tell you where that comes from. It's what I do with my clients. It's honesty. Honesty is sexy because when you're building a company, you want to build customers for life. If you screw them over for $1, they're gone. And good business, you screw them over for $1, you made $1. You make them a customer for life, even if you lose a little money for a year or something. Over time, after 10 years, you've made a whole lot more than $1. Customer for life, 20 years.
Yeah. We talk about that in my industry a lot. You want repetitive business, return guests.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just that guest. They're your advertising source, word of mouth. Every interaction leaves you with a story. And so if you have that customer for life, and then they go and say, hey, I love Hollywood Celebrity Endorsement Partners. I'm going to plug my own company. Why not? I love Hollywood Celebrity Endorsement Partners. They do the best image and brand. That's a lot more valuable of a sales pitch for me than me doing it. First of all, because I'm not a salesman. Second of all, people are going to trust a secondary source more than the source. That's why publicists exist. I resurrected Steven Adler's career, one of the 100 greatest drummers of all time from Guns N' Roses fame. Yeah. He was being just annihilated in the press. Because
quick tidbit on him is, well, not him personally, but I was at the very first concert of the reunion tour here in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
I was there. Ironically, that was the evening before my wedding.
Now, did you incorporate that? Did you have?
No, it was me and a friend. And my wife was gracious enough to be like, okay, I know this is something, because the Guns N' Roses is gone for so long. I was like, I've got to go to this. And she was like, okay. And
so that was
great time.
Detroit. So I think the last time Steven gets to choose when he wants to guest, because he has this incredible solo career. So when the most recent guy left and they brought in Isaac Carpenter as the new drummer, everybody in the world wants Steven to do it. Steven has this amazing solo career. A lot of people say, look, I'm never going to diss Axl or Slash or Duff.
I've heard that Axl used to be hard to work with.
I'm not going to say anything good or bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just, that's what's out there. I've heard he's cleaned himself up. And
I've never sat in a room with Axl, so I can't give a firsthand opinion. And even if I had one,
right,
I'm not, it wouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah, throw nobody under the
bus.
But
Steven's band is, in the opinion of a lot of fans, better at Guns N' Roses than Guns N' Roses is. Because Steven created the sound. Nobody can drum like Steven Adler. He's one of the 100 greatest drummers of all time per Rolling Stone magazine. He has a very unique self-taught style. I call it the Adler swing style because it's a little off tempo, kind of jazz influence. Very hard to record, which is actually why he and Guns N' Roses parted ways. There's all these rumors about addiction and things. I'm going to tell you, every single member of that band was doing that stuff. Steven was the last one to even try it. When in the recording studio, to make a record efficient and fast, you want it to sound the same every take after take after take. Steven's style, what made Appetite for Destruction so awesome, isn't the same take after take. They were on like take 40, and he's pissing everybody off. Of course, but that's
Right.
who
I
he is.
mean,
It's like a disability in terms of I can't help my disability. Well, Steven's not disabled, but he has his own drumming style. He can't drum like a session drummer. You want it to be tempo, 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 tempo. You hire a session drummer. I mean, Motley Crue, back in the day, they would hire people. I mean, Nikki Sixx, I don't think he played on some of the album. He didn't even really know, didn't really know how to play bass until later on. He's image and branding expert. The man created rock star fame without even knowing how to play an instrument. There's like legendary stories. He would go into auditions for bands and they would have to like help him try and tune. But he was image branding brilliance. The name Nikki Sixx was a name of his girlfriend at the time's ex-boyfriend who was a rocker. And Nikki thought it was a cool name and just changed the lettering. He understands image and branding. He wrote like all the hook lyrics for Motley Crue tunes, even though he's not the singer. If you look at him even today, getting on Facebook or anything, he's not wearing makeup like a woman stepping onto a film set, but he's taking care in how he's going to appear. And that's not to be made fun of. My Lord, look at his career. Bret Michaels is another one. Poison. They are icons because they understand image and branding and catering to the public. And here's the other thing. Bret Michaels, I'm going to point to him. He loves his fans. He loves his fans. He loves veterans. He loves his fans. He loves the country. Of course, he's going to be an icon. Even if he couldn't sing, and he can, he writes brilliant songs. He connects the audience, fans for life, customers for life. That's a celebrity brand. So I resurrected Steven Adler's career because I put the focus away from like rumors from a million years ago and on the facts. 100 greatest drummers of all time, Rolling Stone magazine, Grammy Hall of Fame rock star, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame rock star. Okay, those are the things that weren't being focused on. Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers wanted to do songs with him. My man Alex Grassi from Quiet Riot did songs with him. That's the things that need to be focused on. Another, I think it's 95% of all Guns N' Roses hits have Steven Adler as a co-writer and appearing on. So even though they went on and did other recordings, if you look at statistically, and nobody was focusing on that, that's what I do. Secondly, it's not just me knowing what to focus on. If Steven was to go on TV and say, I wasn't doing all that stuff, it's all made up, people are going to say, no, you're lying. It doesn't matter if it's Steven. It doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if it's RFK. It doesn't matter if it's the Virgin Mary. People don't like to believe the person who's speaking. But if I stand right next to one of my celebrity clients and I say, well, he didn't do it, it has a lot more credibility. It's like going into court. Even if you're the best lawyer in the world, you don't want to defend yourself. You take in somebody to be your mouthpiece. And so I was the mouthpiece for Other World Computing, the executive spokesperson, part owner, and I brought in all my Star Trek people. And Chase was our girl from Deep Space Nine. And we started working. I had Other World Entertainment at the time as a division. And it's off their press room, which is a little bit funny. Everything I did there is off the press room. Yeah, I think I have it. We're over at the library because there's no internet. Did I bring it? No. All the stuff that was in the press room is like gone. There's a little lawsuit that's happening. We did all these entertainment projects. David Radford from American Idol. I brought him on. He was the teen guy. It was the year Daughtry was on. Huge year because Daughtry didn't even win, and he's like amazing. Everybody from that year. And so David Radford was the first teen guy to be a finalist. He's an amazing vocalist. He kind of had this Frank Sinatra swing thing. And so I brought him on. We did an endorsement deal. I was the MC for his first concert. I'm like thanked more than anybody in history in his album. That's, of course, a gross exaggeration. But Roger Adler, the producer, thanked me. David thanked me. David's dad, who's the manager, thanked me. And that's like cool because that's what I live for. I got this saying that I let the accountants, they worry about the money. I get paid in the smiles I put on people's faces. And so we did, what did we do? We had Streetwise, it was a documentary, Streetwise documentary that we were doing. And with Chase, we did Yesterday Was a Lie, which was this amazing film, little independent film. I think the company was Helicon that we partnered with. And Chase was one of the producers, and she was one of the stars. And I worked with, it was so fun working on that. And the guy who was Superboy was in it. I got to get to know Peter Mayhew, our man from Chewbacca. Sorry, I know you're a Star Trek guy. Sorry.
No. Hey, I like Star Wars.
Crossed barriers here. So we had Peter Mayhew. We had the gorgeous, beautiful, and brilliant Chase Masterson. Had Superboy, another girl, I forget her name, from another Star Trek series. It was just this sci-fi smorgasbord where probably, gosh, if I start mentioning it in all my interviews, somebody's going to buy that film for like a lot of money and just re-release it because of the stars involved, because that happens a lot. But yeah, and Chase was actually not the star. She chose not to be the star. She could have been. She was a supporting character because what we wanted to do, I don't know if you know this about Chase, she is like this most amazing singer. Her background was singing and dancing, like Broadway kind of stuff. Not on Broadway, but just.
Oh, I did not know that.
And what happens often with any kind of television is you get pigeonholed, you get typecast. And so Chase has this great fan love for being this very sexy, alluring, sexy, like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just sex appeal.
Yeah, honestly. I think they're still doing a revival of Gypsy on Broadway. I could be wrong. I've been involved in various Broadway things backstage and stuff. We were doing the financing for the cast album of Titanic, which won like every Best Off-Broadway Musical Award. And then just this past year, we won the Olivier Award in England. It's like the UK version of the Tonys. And so I left the project before it came to fruition, but I was involved in getting the financing for the cast album for that. And so I've been involved in Broadway. I was approached to replace Adam Pascal in Rent on Broadway, and I wish I could have. We tried for about a year to make it work because I had the looks. I was this incredible actor, and I was an okay singer. I wish I was better than I was. Got to be truthful. Adam Pascal is one of the greatest singers to ever step on a Broadway stage. One of the greatest singers ever, and I've gotten to know him. He's one of the greatest people ever. And I mean, the director wanted me to do it, and I wanted to do it, and it just wasn't going to happen. But I did get to meet. Here's another Star Trek connection for you. Wilson Cruz. You know Wilson Cruz?
Don't know that. What role did
from Discovery. He plays, well, guys, they're both on it. Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp. They're both from Rent fame. Wilson Cruz, okay. Anthony Rapp plays the engineer who like can do the porting. Wilson plays his husband, the doctor.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I know exactly who you're talking about.
They flew me out when they were trying to get me to do Rent, and I wanted to do it. Everybody wanted it to happen. They flew me out. They were just starting the tour, one of the tours. They had 3 tours going at once. Doing one of the tours, and it was starting in La Jolla, California. And it starred Neil Patrick Harris as Mark, and it starred Wilson Cruz as Angel, which is a transvestite. I always get transvestite, just sexual confused. It's not a disrespect. I love everybody. I just get confused on words. So I believe he was a transvestite. He was a man who dressed as a woman, and he was just amazing. And then I met with Neil after the show, and I met with Wilson. And I'm not gay. I have no inclinations that way. But man, if it was a choice, I wanted it, I would have become gay for Wilson. He's just that sweet, and he didn't approach me or anything. It's just that's how sweet he is, and that made me want to do Rent even more. And it wouldn't have been in that cast, but he's just a cool dude. And now he's on Discovery. And then Anthony Rapp, who played Mark on Broadway in Rent, who I think he had left the production by that point, but he's on Discovery. But so anyway, going back to Otherworld Computing, Otherworld Entertainment, Chase, Yesterday Was a Lie. I was all over that and really had a great friendship. That's where my friendship with Chase started. And so I got to do some fun stuff. If you look at the film credits, we couldn't figure out what to put me in. And so I think I'm listed as like some like obscure thing, like music producer or something. We just picked a title. It didn't matter. They just wanted to stick me in the credits somewhere as some kind of production. And it was really like
Yeah.
kind of like friend to Chase. And put the deal together and friend to Chase. But I needed to have some kind of credit, so they made up some. But I got to
No, I
go.
mean,
If you want me to switch subjects, you tell me. I could just.
no, go for it. Yeah, I love it.
I got to travel with Chase to some things, just as like friends and things. And one of them was a Star Trek convention, and I'd never been to one. I've always been a Star Trek fan, but I'd never been to a convention, and it was really very eye opening. Have you ever been to one, Jeff?
No, every time that there's been one, because I work so much like crazy hours and stuff,
That's right.
sometimes either don't see the email for it, or, it's just always something's just going on, and sometimes these things don't get like, I won't say like last minute, right? Like it'll just be like, oh, hey, I have to schedule some of my stuff out for work at the beginning of the year. And then it'll be like February, they'll announce it. And I'm like, man, they'll just say like when they're having a convention or something like that, and I'm like, I always seem to miss it. It just it's never lined up for me.
Okay, I have to ask. You said they would announce it in February, for instance.
Yeah.
Like for
Well, that's when
February,
I would start seeing the advertising. Let me rephrase that.
and would it be for like right away, like the next day in February kind of thing, or would it be if
No, just like, hey, this is going to be coming up this year, this, that, and the other thing. And
because that is a mistake a lot of fledgling convention or event marketers do. And I don't think a lot of Star Trek people make this confused mistake.
no, not generally.
Some people throw together a convention and say, hey, it's this weekend or it's in a week. And when you do a product launch,
But yeah, you got to have time.
it has to be planned. You have to be able to adapt the plan as things change, but it has to be planned, just like a political career. You have to plan it out. And so with conventions, there's kind of two ways that are traditionally done. The big thing where they bring in lots and lots and lots of stars to a big city like Detroit, okay? Or in a very small town where they've never seen a celebrity in their life or anything, and they rent out a whole hotel. And part of convention thing isn't just a ticket. It's you get a room, you get interactions with the stars. So it's a package. It's like going on a cruise, except on land. And now they do cruises of this stuff too. And
Yeah, I
so
heard about that.
then instead of earning whatever they're charging at the door, whether it's $25 or it's $500 for a convention where you're going to see a lot of stars, go into this little teeny tiny town in the middle of nowhere, the producer, the event promoter, if they rent out the hotel themselves, they now have total control of the price of the room. And they have total control of the price of the package they put together. Where, okay, for X amount of dollars, you get the room and you get a dinner with the star. Or for X amount of dollars, you get a room, you get to attend the meet and greet, and it's all putting together packages. And so you have that kind of control in a teeny tiny town. And so I went to a convention with Chase, and I've never been to it. And first of all, it was very beautiful in terms of learning a new culture, which is kind of what Star Trek is all about. It's about accepting people. Everybody's different races, different species. And if you even look back in the original series, I mean, look at that bridge crew. You had an African American, the luscious Nichelle Nichols, who I got to meet, and she was advanced in age, but she was still just gorgeous and sexy as all can be. Talk about that truth coming from inside. You had George Takei, who's Asian. You had Walter Koenig. I might be pronouncing his name wrong. I'm never sure.
I know what you're talking about.
Russian. He's Czech. And and of course, Spock, who's not even of Earth. That was the first kind of melting pot. And that was Gene Roddenberry's vision. And so that extends into interacting with other worlds and things. So now you take that to this convention I want. It's like walking into another world in that, people are there in their costumes, believing, or at least enjoying being Klingons and enjoying being Ferengi and enjoying being whatever their favorite character is that they've identified. And some of them just say, I'm a Klingon, but they don't appear as such. And others will wear the nose and things. And one of the things that Chase and I got to do, and I say got to, it was on an honor. Some of the people, the fans, paid extra money to have dinner, the the celebrities from Star Trek. And so I was there with Chase, so I got to go along for the dinner. And
Yeah.
it was in town. It was a Chinese restaurant. And we had like a woman at the table with us who's wearing her Klingon nose and in Klingon uniform. And people are looking at her like she's a freak. But here, she wasn't. She was a beautiful person enjoying her
Yeah.
passion, a passion you have, man.
Right. No, I would be
Freak
looking at that person too, going like,
You're not a freak, you're my buddy, right?
but me, I would just be going like, that looks familiar. Like,
Right.
it would just be, it would just make my head go, like, not like a
Hollywood
bad
for
way.
a second, man. I'm gonna get Hollywood.
Yeah, not in a
Hollywood,
bad way, it would
those
just be,
partners, right? And so here's the thing: that beautiful woman who's dressed up as a Klingon, people are looking at her like you look at a disabled person or something, like they should apologize for having a disability or something, apologize for having a limp, and she didn't take it. She looked at them like not like angry, but just like she was confused, like why they weren't dressed like Klingon. And
right? No,
I loved it. I loved it.
right.
And every second I fell more and more in love with the Star Trek universe, which I already loved from the Gene Roddenberry perspective, from the character, from the script writers. But now I was falling in love with the fan base. And that is why Star Trek is what it is, right? Is the fan base. The original series was canceled. Lucille Ball
Yeah.
and Desi
It
Arnaz
got more
went
popular
on.
after it was canceled.
Yeah. Lucille Ball, I Love Lucy, and Desi Arnaz are the ones who financed it, put it on. What is it, Desilu? And it got canceled after 1 year. And then fan letters got it back on the air. And I believe it's the first time that ever happened. And the first movie got made because fan letters. The fan base, customers for life, fans for life. Look at what Star Trek is now. And so I learned from everything, man. Autism. I learned different. I had to sit at the English as a second language table in high school because I was a freak. People didn't want to be my friend. Then I ended up dating Anna Nicole Smith. I learned different. I became a sex symbol. I modeled with Fabio when I had my hair. Disabled doesn't mean dumb. Just means you.
See, you say had hair, but I'm like, I may have my hair, but I'm like going gray.
Yeah. Oh no, I had the long. It was small, medium, and large. Me, Fabio's cousin, and Fabio. And I was the small, and I'm like 5'11". And so that even Baby Bear was a little intimidating. But I mean, Fabio, again, I'm not homosexual, and he's not homosexual. But I can appreciate the beauty of him. My Lord, he was like a statue, and he's like 6'6". That was intimidating. And so to even be among the three, to even be considered in that category was pretty cool. And so that was fun. But I got that love of the fan base kind of thing from hanging out with Chase at that convention. And I learned from it because now I produce horror films, nothing you would ever see. But like the whole thing at the Airbnb, Fox Lake, Illinois, it all happened because creative product was stolen. Some horror films we were going to release because the guy didn't replace the broken lock. And then rather than put in the insurance claim after the films and some albums from some of my artists were stolen, all he had to do was put in the insurance claim. That's it. His insurance rates would have gone up. Instead, he goes like cuckoo crazy and like what I said, does the bad stuff, trying to like think he's going to cover it up. Some people are cuckoo crazy and they do bad stuff. But so we had horror films that were going to be released this year. They weren't going to win any Oscars or anything. But what I love about the horror conventions, the fan, and hearing their story, I love to talk to them and find out what is it that makes you love what we do. Because I've also I do cameos in horror films. I was the touring actor, and so I still appear in them sometimes. And gosh, I won a Best Actor for something. The Slight. The Slight was 2023 kind of horror genre thing. And it was directed by Ben Kirsten. And I won Best Actor at the Gene Siskel Film Center. And it was like sponsored by Lamborghini and things. I didn't expect
Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, I didn't expect to win. My girlfriend, Deb Swinford, we own an entertainability group together. Man, she's like shaking me, saying, Ricky, go up on stage. I didn't expect to win. I didn't have a speech prepared. I was surprised I was even honored, even nominated. No thought whatsoever I'd win. And, I'm going to tell you, the reason I won, because I reacted and acted. The real winners, my co-stars. All right. 3 amazing. Coast. And I'm terrible with names. I'm like drawing a blank right now on. I'm not going to offend them. I don't remember the names, but I had three co-stars, and all three of them gorgeous, amazingly gorgeous, and all three of them just so talented. Particularly my main co-star, and gosh, her last name is Stryker. Is it Amy Stryker? Gosh, she's going to kill me.
Stryker, the name. I don't know who Amy Stryker is, but Stryker rings a
Yeah.
bell.
I'm doing this on my phone, so I can't Google what her name is. And I feel so I'm offending her right now that I don't remember her name because I love her dearly. But she's the reason I want. My three co-stars. I mean, Ben had this amazing script. He's an amazing director. I had these amazing co-stars. My job was easy. And that's not to say acting is easy.
No,
I did a lot of
I've
research, I did a lot of preparation, but in
Right.
terms of I won because of that. I won because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some, I would say, like documentaries, like behind the scenes type of things, like on acting and all that. And it seems easy if you're just a person watching the movie, right? You're like, well, that's easy, right? But I've seen like I watched one on The Sopranos, and
Okay.
it'd be like, James Gandolfini would like stay up all night and walk on like not glass, but like something like real like painful in his shoes or something, so that way when he would have the scenes in the morning where he was angry, it would be legitimately because he was in pain and he was angry. And and they just said, like there's just and learn all that. They'd be like, oh, there's days where we shot for like 15, 16 hours. And I'm like, whoa, man.
I see. I got
They
to
work
take it
hard.
in this direction because I was an actor forever, and I was that way. I was very method. And so Deborah Swinford, okay, she's one of the most beautiful women ever. She's one of the most brilliant business minds. I'm the brilliant marketing guy. She knows the accounting, the and man, just one of the most amazing women I've ever met. Wow. And I met her doing Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. She played Maggie and I played Brick. And so that's a Tennessee Williams show. And I did it at a place called the Woodstock Opera House, a little blip in the middle of nowhere. I ended up getting stuck there for like a really long time. I was misdiagnosed at a hospital and like turned into a zombie, basically. And I literally couldn't wipe my own behind. It was awful. I went in an executive and misdiagnosed while unconscious based upon input from people who hadn't seen me in decades, my own relatives.
Jeez.
Yeah. Who were passing along information. I told you about my bad daddy. Well, he told them that I was retarded and that I'm schizophrenic. And I believe now they go around telling people that I'm a heroin junkie. When you don't interact with people and you hear rumors, that's the kind of stuff that
Frustrating.
But I mean, Joe, I think you can tell I'm not crazy, and
Yeah.
I'll show you my arms. I've never done heroin. People say some goofy stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean they always do. It makes, I don't know if it makes people feel better about themselves or whatever it is, but people do things like that for no reason.
I'm going to tell you, in the case of my relatives, I think it's because, well, they don't want to acknowledge what my father did and still does to kids. Because they actually said, we don't want to look at the evidence because we've met him and he's a charming guy. So there's this denial, but it doesn't change that it happened to me. We discovered this when I was 53 years old, and I know it looks young. I mean, 53 years old when we find out the truth about Dad, and it's his prison records and things, and so it's undeniable. And they didn't want to look at that, and this is where I'm getting to. I think they really hate themselves that they allowed it to happen, and so that's why they say things like, "Oh, Ricky's a heroin junkie," because it's easier to point the blame away from yourself. Because if they had to look in the mirror and say, wow, we let that cute little kid get molested, that would be really hard on their souls, I bet.
Right.
And that's my guess, because we haven't had a conversation about it. I've called them and asked them why they do this. I've emailed them, and they've chosen not to be in my life, except to do things like that, spread poppycock, as I like to say. I would love to have that conversation. I would love to. I love to exchange information. But Woodstock, Illinois, this theater, that's where Paul Newman started his stage career. Paul Newman is my favorite actor of all time. I love so many actors, but Paul Newman, really my all-time favorite. And he
made good salad dressing too, just to be fair.
He does. Here's the thing. He donates all those profits to causes, to helping disabled kids and things. And that's what I do. America's friend, this whole thing. It's all about, I don't want to live in a mansion, man. I'd be lonely. I don't want to fly into space for fun when there's people starving. That's where my money goes, helping people. And so that's the whole America's friend thing. It's the American dream for everybody. In fact, around the world. I want everybody to have food in their stomachs, a roof over their heads, medications, health care. I want to have a good time. I want my kids to have nice houses and cars and things. But man, I would rather be eating garbage, living on the streets, and have people taken care of than, be in a mansion and everybody else is starving. Let me be the one.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's called just having a good heart. I mean,
yeah,
to me, that's how we should all want to be by default.
exactly. And that's why I love you, Joe. And I hope you're not offended by that. But
Not at all. Not at all.
I had bad parents. My grandmother, my mother doesn't approve of autism. She's never sent a Christmas present or a birthday present to my son. She doesn't approve of my autism. She's never said the words, I love you. It is what it is. And my father, well, he kind of loved me in the wrong way. So the only person who ever said that in my relative circle was my grandmother, who was really my angel on earth. Her name was Patricia Smith, and then her married name was Landers. And later on, she was Patricia Maxwell and Patricia Zimmerman. Because after my grandfather died, he died before I was born. She always told her new husband, she said, I will be a good wife to you, and I will love you. But I'm going to be buried. I'm going to be buried next to my first husband. He's my true love. And she is just, she was the most amazing thing in my life.
Yeah, that's my great grandma did the same thing.
She was the one who would call me across country because she knew I wasn't being loved. And she would say those words, I love you. And the other word she would say is, I'm proud of you. And so I say those everybody I can with meaning, because that's what people need to hear. And that's the only person I heard them from. And in fact, Deborah and I, with Entertainability Group, we started a thing called Life and Times. It was lifeandtimes.biz. And then we were at the Fox Lake Airbnb disaster where bad things happened. We were retooling it to launch lifeandtimes.biz in different regions around the country. It was an entertainment site, particular to Chicago. And the way that we as a team made things happen, I think it was like number 3 entertainment site in Chicago within like 3 or 6 months, because we just did things differently. And it was reviews. It was reviews of theater. And my editorial policy is that everything has to be positive. You don't lie and say it's great if it's not. But if the only thing good in the show is the scenery, then that review is about how great the scenery is. And so quotes that I wrote helped get Tommy, the Who's Tommy, from the Goodman Theater to Broadway, where it was nominated for a Tony. Now, I didn't direct it. I wasn't in it. But the quotes from my reviews were used in the marketing materials that got it, because people love compliments, honest compliments. Actors love it, directors love it, readers love it, and the patrons love it. Positive things are cool. And so that's how we built that. So we're at the Airbnb. Thank God Deborah wasn't there. I mean, imagine this happened to me. Yeah, crimes of an intimate nature. One of the loves of my life. Oh, my Lord. I would just.
Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, but we were retooling the Life and Times to have regionalized. So like Milwaukee, Detroit, entertainment hubs, review sites, and then a podcast network connected to that. The lifeandtimes.biz was going to also be a podcast network. Now, Jacob Brozick, he owns a company called Lola Wireless. It's a tier 1 ISP. I was the senior executive vice president of communications, and he was holding on to that URL. We also produced the Polish cooking show together and a bunch of other things. And then I was legally the co-trustee for life of a nonprofit of Jacob and I's, Indigo Spirit. And I took over when his wife, Brittany Brozick, just disappeared. And he needed another co-trustee. So I agreed to do it. And I said, it's for life. He said, yeah. And apparently there's I don't know. There's some questionable things that might have happened. I'm not sure with the paperwork. I'm not sure. But he had the domain, lifeandtimes.biz, and he refused to give it back. But it was Entertainability property. And so, I mean, he tried to blackmail Mike Potter at Escape Technology, who had been hired to do the website. He said, if Ricky doesn't sign over something on this document he's never seen, I won't give you your legal property back. Well, okay, not cool on blackmail when we own hundreds of domains. We just switched it to another domain. And it's what
you got to protect yourself.
Yeah, because we're going to hold up the launch on a domain. And then, of course, everything went cuckoo crazy because the Airbnb host decided. But so where was it going? Life and Time, Deborah Swinford at Cat on Hudson River. That's how I met her. We were the two stars. Paul Newman played Brick, my character, in the movie. So I said, oh, if I was offered this part, and I was like, okay, if anybody's going to play Paul Newman's part, my hero, on the stage, he started his acting career. I'd really like to do it. Now, I was never going to do as good as him. He's just incredible. But hey, I wanted to do it. Well, he's an alcoholic, the character. And so I quit drinking in 2014. But at the time, I was an incredible alcoholic myself. I studied it. He had to drink bourbon. I hated bourbon, but I would drink bourbon every night to acquire the taste for it so that my face would reflect properly. And you don't drink it on stage, but I could mimic the emotion as an actor. And then I would actually videotape myself doing the lines as I was getting drunk. So I would know the slur because he gets drunk on stage over the course of the show. And I needed to know, as an actor, method acting, how to have the accurate slur pattern grow. Now, I had to adapt it because if I really did it as accurate, you wouldn't have understood me at the end of the show. But that was the basis. So I get the whole method acting. And now the cool thing, I'm going to jump. And so Deborah and I she was best friends for like 30 years or something. We've had a couple of divots in our relationships, and it's usually because of lies. Somebody told a bunch of lies about me to her way back in the day, and we lost a few years. And, that happens. Like you said, sometimes people tell lies. And then if you're groovy and cool and you use your mind, you look at the evidence when it becomes available. And you say, wow, that wasn't cool. Let's fix it. But she's just amazing, 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 amazing. And I couldn't have done that part without her. I couldn't have done Life and Times without her. Teamwork. But do we have enough time for me to jump back to that Star Trek convention, or have I run out of time?
Wow, we're pretty much right at the borderline right there.
Because I was the king of the Star Trek convention. The first time in history the non-Star Trek actor was king of the Star Trek convention.
But yeah, these are great insights.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back on for a part 2, because I feel like we could go on for hours and hours and hours.
I would love it. And we want to, here's how you do in television programming. All right. So this is YouTube, but we're going to do it as a television program. So our audience is listening. The Middle Ground Mike, one of the greatest shows you're going to experience. That's coming from Lee Travolta, guy who creates #1 brands in multiple industries, television spokesperson, the guy who creates celebrity brands as a celeb. I know a thing or two about entertainment. And I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm America's friend. I give my advice. And my advice to you is The Middle Ground Mike is a show you should really give a chance to. And not just my episode. I hope you watch my episode. But because it's a cool show. And maybe you'll agree with things. Maybe you won't. But like myself, Joe doesn't tell you what to think. And that goes back to my days in journalism. And it goes back to integrity. We all have to hear different thoughts, different ideas. We can't pretend they don't exist. Open mind, discussion, decisions. And so as your friend, America, and the world, America's friend, my advice, what a friend does, my advice, give my man Joe and The Middle Ground Mike a chance. And so here's how you do programming, my man Joe. We want to do a cliffhanger. We want people to tune in to that next episode. So let's tease them what we're going to talk about. Are we going to talk more about Star Trek? I could go on forever. Or are we going to talk about how I made Empire Today, the #1 flooring company in the country, in less than a year, what statistically would have taken anybody else 10, 20 years, as is being profiled in a new book by Adrian Barker. And so I'm just going to tease the audience here. I did it partially by aligning us with every celebrity and every celebrity brand possible. This is autographed by Danny Bonaducci and Adam Carolla. Because I was doing media appearances on everything, like HGTV. I lived on that station and things. And I aligned us with every brand and America and around the world, our audience, my man Joe's audience. I'm just a guest. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But I'm going to talk to you. Friends of Joe, friends of Ricky. I really hope, if that's the episode Joe wants to do, I really hope you tune back in, because I got a lot of stories about that and how I did that, how I made a #1 brand in less than a year. I took David Lenowitz, billionaire venture capitalist. His profits following my marketing strategies went from $40 million a year, it's pretty good, to $700 million a year. That's really good.
Right.
We got a lot of
I
stories
mean,
about that.
that's phenomenal. I mean, that's a lot of cash. It's a whole lot of cash.
So, Joe, I think we should talk about that next time. What?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I'll get in touch with you. Most definitely, we'll shoot some emails back and forth, get this set up.
Rockstar. And I did the research for the official biography of Napoleon Hill, who wrote basically the Bible of business, Think and Grow Rich. And so I was the research editor. I spent months with his private audio diaries that he recorded over his life. I'm the only person on the planet who's done that. And so the secrets that he talks about in here, that everybody in business wants to know, I'm the only guy on the planet who knows them. And that could be another episode, my friend. We could have episodes. I'm going to get goofy and look Hollywood again. Hollywood celebrity endorsement partners, Ricky Lee Travolta representing Sharon Travolta, Joanne Deal, my dear Deborah Swinford, just the whole crew. And Joe, thank you for this opportunity.
No, thank you for being on here. I love your background, plus the conversation we had the other night. If people could have just heard that, it was out of this world. It was such a great conversation.
And hey, yeah, anybody who wants to have that conversation, you see me on the street, shake my hand.
Yeah.
If you're really pretty, hit on me, and maybe we'll strike up a real good friendship. If you're really nice, give me a hug, and I won't be offended. I love to help people. I love to talk to people, and we'll adjust the prices. If you can afford the $1 million advice, then yeah, we'll do it that way. And if you just need 2 minutes of my time to give you some advice, I'm going to give it for free. And if you have a product you want to make world famous and you don't have the budget yet, well, we do a little negotiation. I get part of the profits I steal to steer to good causes, or we do like bartering in product. If you do a suit brand, maybe we insist that a certain number of suits go to homeless people looking for jobs and graduates of tech colleges who don't have the silver spoon. That's what I do, Joe. I steer things to help people. And if America loves that, if you have a good brand, you have a good company, if you employ good people, if you have good product, can I plug an email address, Joe? Is that okay?
Sure, go for it. Yeah. Then
get a hold of us. Because if you want me to endorse you or one of our celebrities or something, you reach us at Idol Makers, at Celebrity Endorsements. I mean, that's if you want us to make you into a number one brand. You want your company to be number one. You reach us at Idol Makers. We make idols. Idol Makers at celebrityendorsements.us. And that's for celebrities. That's for companies. That's for products. And it doesn't have to be it has to be quality, but it doesn't have to have $1 billion money behind it. I don't do that. I help the guy who needs help. And that's
what makes you a good person.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, because you're a good person and you saying that means something. And then we got one more email.
Appreciate that too.
And, sure. And it's USA at certifiedplatinum.us. USA at certifiedplatinum.us. And we actually have like a way that you can make donations and things. But really, that's where I give my personal endorsement as a certified platinum quality guarantee. That I'm gonna put my name behind it. And if you don't meet the standards, then I can't do that yet. But we have a program where I'll help you get there.
Yeah.
It's all about success, not putting people down. If I represent a company, it's not to put anybody else out of business. It's to be the best we can be, and there's room for everybody.
Right. I mean, there is. I mean, you got to be competitive to stay relevant.
Yeah. So, Joe,
that's the name of the game in life.
I'm going to get Hollywood celebrity endorsement partners. Man, no.
Hey, everybody, if you need anything, check out Ricky's email addresses. Email him. This guy can help you get what you need to get done. He's a great guy and gives even better advice. I thank you, everybody, and I hope everybody has a good one.